I have to wash my hands 600 times a day, being in the hospital.
Yep. Makes
And now I
sense.
cut my hand open opening a fucking beer.
I just have to keep my hands moisturized, otherwise they will start cracking. And
Yeah, it's ludicrous. What's happening though is like the weather is going to be changing, so that's great. Left the house this morning and it was 17 below zero.
yep, it was pretty damn cold.
Outrageous, man. Outrageous.
At least I think it's supposed to eke into the positives this week.
Yeah. Oh, no, actually, I think by the end of the week it's going to be in the mid 30s. So
Yeah.
fucking
We have
heat
a
wave.
classic Vermont heat wave coming.
Yeah, a bit too late, man. I'm gonna need my solar panels to be cleared of snow. That would be fucking great.
Yeah. Maybe you'll get lucky.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's not the order of the day these days, Steve.
You
Getting
know,
lucky.
I
Anyway,
yeah.
great Super Bowl.
It was pretty good. Anytime the Patriots lose is a
It's a
pleasant
plus,
time
right?
in my book.
Especially to like a likable bunch of players on Seattle's team.
Oh, absolutely.
I hated that fucking Legion of Boom Seattle team from years ago. The team that lost to the Patriots.
Yeah.
But yeah, this team was very likable. What a great defense. What a great defense.
Yeah. Fantastic high energy. Yeah. Love to see that kind of aggression.
I know. And people thought it was boring Super Bowl. I thought it was fucking fantastic defense. But anyway, you want to record this podcast?
Sure. Yeah, might as well.
All right, let's go for it.
We're here.
What time is it?
It's time for Wicked Spursy.
This is Wicked Spursy. You've got Mike and Steve with you tonight or today, depending on when you're listening to it. Mike, it's Monday. It's cold, but here inside we are presumably warm. At
Steve,
least you look warm with that phenomenal Vermont green hat.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a nice, phenomenal. It's a great color because it's not like the typical Vermont green colors that you get, but it is one of the colors in the logo.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
And
how are you doing?
If you noticed, anybody who watches the video version of this on our YouTube channel, nobody does. But if you do get a chance to watch it, you'll notice that throughout the entire opening intro song, I was lip syncing just like Kid Rock did last night when he forgot his fucking lyrics.
How do you forget lyrics to your own song?
Probably years of cocaine abuse.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Man, I just, that's one of those things. Like, why would you put that on TV? Like, if you're that desperate to see that, just, go to a Walmart in a deep red state. I'm sure that somebody's looking and acting exactly the same way there.
Dude, it said something when the Charlie Kirk murder funded halftime show can't draw more viewers than the fucking Puppy Bowl. Granted, I gotta tell you, the Puppy Bowl is like one of the things I look forward to every year on Super Bowl Sunday.
It's a great time.
Yeah, I think it was a day earlier this time, but I did catch it on replay on Sunday morning.
It's nice. There's nothing to really worry about. You don't have to deal with any kind of tactics or performances from individuals. It's just, nice, cute fun.
No, it is cute fun. And the only thing you do have to rely on is that the Golden Doodles will figure out a way to convince themselves that they are actually on a football field and not in some sort of playpen or jungle gym. It's always the most wholesome goddamn shit on the planet. As was Bad Bunny's performance. I can tell you, for me, it wasn't my favorite performance in the halftime show. I was a big fan of Rihanna's when she was pregnant a couple of years ago, and Prince's, of course. Prince's is definitely the best, but I can tell you that once he got through the newer song that he opened with, and got into the bangers, like it really got awesome. And what I really appreciated was the point where he brought his Grammy to the little kid that got abducted by ICE.
Oh wow, yeah.
That was an amazing part of that whole thing. Also, when he fell off the stage backwards, I thought he was actually falling to his death, but they caught him.
Well, my favorite part was all of these crackpots going, oh, gonna watch the Kid Rock show, and then they start tweeting out, that was the worst halftime show of all time. Which is it? Was it the Kid Rock show that was the worst halftime of all time, or did you not actually watch that and you sat through Bad Bunny anyway and you're complaining about it? You people got an alternative and you still didn't use it. So, what are you even doing?
It's wild. Well, I wish, Steve, there was an alternative to what we have to witness on a weekly basis with our football team, our European football team.
Yeah. If nothing else comes from this weekend, I hope that while the teams are playing these next 4 games without Christian Romero, I hope he is forced to watch replays of Kid Rock performing as punishment.
Yeah, I've seen Kid Rock perform live. Back when he was saluting all his friends in the methadone clinic before he took that line out of the song. Yeah, when he was cool back in the 90s. I saw him perform live, and yeah, he wasn't great then either. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I'm still upset about Romero's tackle. It's, I don't know. I've seen people trying to defend it online. Oh, the other player just stepped in front, and it was not as bad as it seems, but. Just looking at it in real time, looking at it, over and over again at speed, to me, it looks deliberate, and that's, as a Spurs fan, I think it really does look deliberate. It looks like it comes out of a place of just, that classic Romero frustration and aggression where he just loses his head sometimes. So I don't know that it wasn't a foul. I don't think it was, the other player initiating anything.
Casemiro was just trying to receive the ball. As much as I fucking hate Casemiro, I hated him when he played for Real Madrid. I hate him now that he plays for Man U. But I don't know. I think this game was a little weird for me, because in the first half up to that moment, right? We looked like pretty organized, trying to soak up pressure and counter. Do the thing that we've been doing, hoofing the ball forward to deep to Solanke, who generally is a pretty strong hold up type of a guy. He's been receiving the ball very, very well in those deep positions. And I think a lot of our possession was kind of was lost in transition, which led to United actually dominating the possession, but at the same time with us trying those same tactics that we used against a weaker, if you want to call it that, a weaker defensive center back pairing at City. And you're putting up, fucking slabhead Harry Maguire up against, and just having him tracking Solanke everywhere. Like Harry Maguire is going to beat you 99% of the time unless you're as big and strong as him. And Solanke's just not. Solanke was getting fucking plowed through constantly on those long balls, and it just wasn't working. And we didn't really switch our tactics. But like, I think that like what some of the takeaways from those first 25-30 minutes are that we did soak up the pressure. Vicario, I mean, we've given him shit recently, but he had a fucking solid game. And everybody was working the program. But obviously Romero comes in, makes a straight up boneheaded tackle, man. And I was pissed at the time. I put it in our chat. I was not happy about it. And it was a red. It's a red all day for me. Like, it's a red all day. I mean, he was frustrated. And I mean, we can talk about what this means for Romero, what this means for the club. But like, at that point, like, once we were reduced to 10 men, we had to change our tactical shape. Everything had to shift. We had to be more conservative. We had to be play a deeper defensive line, which allowed United to kind of dictate the tempo. And then what happens from there? I mean, we get scored on, I mean, and it was important to go into that halftime 0-0, right? But
couldn't get there.
Could not get there.
And not for nothing. Again, first 30 minutes, I thought Xavi actually looked really bright, dictating a lot from that midfield. Gallagher too. Not necessarily the offensive powerhouse, but some of the runs he was making and the tackles he was putting in were, really good. It's something that I was astonished almost. I was not expecting us to play that well, and it was. I have to laugh. Because if I don't, then I just get pissed off. As soon as Romero put that challenge in and it got sent off, I just looked at the thing holistically, like, well, there it is. There's us fucking up. We this couldn't have lasted. We couldn't have been performing this well for that long. Something was bound to happen, and sure enough, it did. But man, I have to give credit to him. This was a kid who, at the beginning of the year, he looked way out of his depth at times. There weren't as many bright flashes, but he had a couple of really beautiful balls that he was playing, cross field or, diagonal out to the wings. But man, it was so nice seeing him looking creative and feeling like he was in charge until he lost one creative outlet and in Odebear due to the substitution. But for at least 30 minutes, things looked nice. That's a positive. I don't have to be all doom and gloom today yet.
No, honestly, like I really think like his work rate and mentality, like, I mean, he's not just drawing praise from like, from the coaching staff and even the media outlets. He's drawing praise from his teammates, and he's really showing that he's a contributor, right? He's not just a flair guy, right? We knew that he had a little bit of flair. His dribble success, his successful dribbles are increasing every single game. He tracks back and recovers balls lost. He's very creative in the final third. So creative that I wish he would actually shoot from deeper positions, because I think he's got that in his locker. We've seen that in the Bundesliga. It's just, getting him to get that confidence and I think it's building. He's generally pretty press resistant. The thing that I've noticed about him that, like, that that I haven't really liked is, and I see and I see it my son all the time too, is passing with purpose just isn't there, right? A lot of his passes are weak. If he's trying to pass, um, you know, in and around pressure and through people, he's not getting the ball out. When he's got an open outlet, he gets the ball out there, right? Like you were talking about with some of those diagonal passes and that kind of stuff. But if he's just trying to lay the ball off for an oncoming attacker, it just doesn't ever seem to get to that player. And I think that he just needs a little bit more strength and a little bit more passing with purpose. And I think though in a season with like very few heroes, he's actually earns a lot of serious credit in his recent games. And I think as we continue to watch him and talk about his emergence, I think that he is going to be a special player for this club. And I hope this club doesn't find a way to fucking ruin him and ruin it.
Oh, we will. What's frustrating for me about it is, we're in February now, and I'm still seeing some passes that, another player should be running onto, but they give up, or, maybe they don't put the effort in to make that run. I'm thinking about the one ball Xavi played into the United box, and Odobert looked like he was going to run for it, but
and then pulled up.
Yeah, right as he released the ball, Odobert just stopped. And I noticed that with Spence, not Spence, Udogie on the left a couple of times as well, where Xavi was trying to get him to run onto a ball and he just doesn't make the run, so it goes out. It's it's not so much frustrating that it happens, it's frustrating that it's February and it seems like the team still isn't all on the same page. There's just a lack of cohesion at times that is, emblematic of our position in the table, to be honest. And I don't understand how that's the case. You've played a fuck ton of games so far this season across all competitions, and you're still not able to kind of gauge what the person on the ball is going to do. It just doesn't sit well with me. It seems like there's something going on behind the scenes, whether it's training tactics or expectations. There's just something that's not being communicated effectively. And in this instance, I don't know that it's necessarily entirely a Frank thing. It could just be how the players themselves are communicating, a lack of leadership within the squad. But there's something there. There's something there that needs to be addressed, because it does look like far too many times the players just aren't aligned with what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of break this down, because like we've been sitting here bitching about Thomas Frank, right, for the past
since October,
couple months, right? I don't necessarily know that like he's at fault for this recently. I think that with Romero, and I know in the chat I said get him out of my fucking club, but like I really, really think that that like, and I hate to admit it, but like I think we've been ravaged by injuries, right? I think that we were starting to come back from some of these injuries. We're getting players back that were going to be integral pieces to the puzzle here. And I don't think this is like solely Thomas Frank's fault right now. Injuries obviously aren't managerial decisions. Squad depth is, but like obviously the squad depth isn't like we haven't another manager who's not being supported, right? So like the financial decisions and transfer windows they matter, right? They're and the shortages, in those transfer windows have clearly shown in our team performances, right? And when you have an injury crisis like we have, we're screwed, because you don't invest. But I think despite that, like outside of I think Romero, who I think is just not buying into it, and I think to an extent Van de Ven isn't either. But I think that's kind of partially down to the toxic attitude of Romero, who's supposed to be our captain, right? And if he's our captain, he's got influence over players. You don't see that kind of calming influence that Sonny had, right? You don't see that calming influence and the ability to connect with his teammates that Hugo had, right? So, I think it shows a little bit on the players and the European competitions, that the players are fighting hard, and I think that the kind of recent turnaround where we had no losses, even though we didn't have wins really in 4. I mean, we had wins in Europe, but like we have to sit here and look kind of deeper and look at the decisions that are being made at the board level. Could the medical staff have been better prepared? Maybe. But I think the January window failure is a key component of it. And I think that I don't know that we should. We have to start prioritizing the league right now over any other midweek European competitions right now, because we could be in real trouble here if the teams below us start to come into form, because they are going to be playing each other, and we have to play them as well. So like we have to maybe start prioritizing the league and stop thinking ahead to Europe and make sure that we have prioritize the players that are going to be returning from injury soon, and make sure that they're going to be healthy. And that will entail playing some of these kids for 10, 20 minutes a game if need be. I'm probably wrong because I'm just a stupid American, but like who doesn't understand the game?
I don't think it's that far-fetched though. It's reality. I mean, of the teams in that bottom half relegation zone area, our form is the worst.
Yeah.
Outside of Burnley and Wolves, we have the worst current form right now. And that should be concerning, right? Because we have a very difficult schedule over the next few games. We've got Newcastle coming up tomorrow, which should be a challenge, hopefully one that can be overcome. We'll talk about that a bit later. But and yeah, we do have to play, Nottingham again. We have to play Leeds. We have to play, so there's opportunities to give ourselves a buffer, but we also should have beat West Ham. We didn't. We actually looked like we kickstarted their current run of form.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they have kind of a new lease on life there, in East London.
Yeah, but it's concerning is what it is, right? These are teams that should have been 3 points for us, and we did not get there. And now we have to rely on not just our own performances, but help from others. And that does not feel great. But I do want to go back real quick and talk about this toxic attitude, this conflict, because there's just something scratching at the back of my mind, and I want to get your take on this. Hypothetically, let's say there is some sort of conflict going on between Romero and Frank. He's not buying in, and maybe that's impacting some of the other players. Not a great look, agreed. But at the same time, Romero's a World Cup winner. Thomas Frank has not really done much of that caliber, right? So if your elite player is not buying into what the coach is doing, is that really the coach you want to build with? And in my mind, it's a no. It's a question of what are we looking to achieve? You know, are we looking to aim high and get into those Champions League places and compete in the biggest competitions? Or are we looking to just be competitive across, you know, multiple fronts without actually winning anything or you know, aiming to be the best in any one place? You know, I again, all hypothetical, right? But if it boiled down to just a whether or not the coaching staff is aiming as high as we would like them to aim, does that change your opinion on Romero's toxicity?
No, no. And here's why. And here's why. If the board and if the board and if the ownership group at Tottenham Hotspur are sick of the carousel of coaching at Tottenham Hotspur, if they're sick of, you know, the toxicity that's happening in the locker rooms, and they can point to a certain player, then that player needs to be removed. Because the board, if they're bought into what Thomas Frank is telling them and his vision, then they're going to give him time to kind of put his vision into place. The problem is that they're not spending like they are, like they're backing Thomas Frank, but they've never spent. They didn't even back Pochettino when Pochettino was the manager, and we were a European powerhouse, and we were a league contender every year, right? So I think that, like, in this place, we have an opportunity to move on a player that, you know, has been oft injured, right? He mysteriously gets better when it comes to international competitions. He only shows up and plays when there's something big on the line, right? And otherwise, like, if the rumors are true, and they seem to be, because he's putting shit out on his social media, and it doesn't look like he's been punished in any way or talked to about it. I mean, it looks like he's trying to drive his way out, and if he's talking in the locker room, in front of teammates, it's going to be, especially if he's a very influential guy. It to me spells doom, and like, that kind of attitude can infect an entire club and make everybody feel like shit. What you do need is you need a player out there who's going to check him and say, this is not who we are. We're a team. And, like, he needs to he doesn't need to buy into the system, but he needs to play within it. And maybe he needs the ownership group to come in and say, someone from that ownership, or Venkateshan, come in and say, listen, this is the coach we're going with. You know, you can play within the system or you can leave, and we will get a nice price for him if we sell him to Atletico Madrid, right? So I think that, you know, there's not a player who's not dispensable.
You see, I'm looking at this like, just hear me out. I know this might be a little bit crazy. Again, strictly hypothetical. We sell Romero in the summer, right? And his replacement is a downgrade. It's going to be, right? There's no way we're getting a top quality player to come in right now. I mean, hell, we allegedly offered Semenyo the best pay package, and he still turned us down for City, right? So if a lot of these clubs are going to be looking for center backs, we're not the attractive option. So we sell Romero, we're going to get a downgrade in theory, right? And then it turns into this question of, are we really going to back mediocrity over aiming high, right? Do we, and it again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the summer holds, but in my mind, selling Romero and backing Frank is backing mediocrity, and we should be looking at bottom half of the table finishes for the foreseeable future. If we sold Romero and sacked Frank for somebody else, then I'd be curious to see how things turn around, right? I know the big, kind of wishful thinking out there is, okay, after the World Cup, we'll bring Pochettino back. I don't know that that's necessarily the best idea, but it could be an interesting one. My concern is, again, for the 80 millionth week in a row, I just don't see what Frank brings to the table that points to us daring to do. It just feels mediocre. It feels like we're just trying to, you know, turn into this club that can look for the young players that they can flip in a few years and make money that way. It's a cash machine more than a football club.
Yeah, it's a brand new reality show. Flip this football club.
Yeah, so that's my concern, right? And I don't disagree with you about the toxicity. I do think that players, there's a time and a place for it, and you're being paid to perform. You need to show up and do what you're supposed to do. But
he's getting paid. He's getting paid the highest wages on the team.
Yeah, but at the same time, I also don't want us to just accept mediocrity because it's easy, right? I am concerned that the board is like, they're seeing Arteta and what he's done, and they're thinking, oh, well, I did that with Arsenal, I can do that with Spurs, and trying to capture lightning in a bottle. The difference in my mind between Arteta and Frank, Arteta is a young, up and coming guy, all things considered. Frank's not, he's kind of old dog, and can you really get this old dog to do anything new and revolutionary that's going to change the dynamic and make things exciting? And I don't think that's the case. He's a nice guy. I wish him the best. I just don't think he's the right fit for the club and what we're looking to do. And so I think the summer is going to be very important to see, if they stick with the manager. Are they going to back him in the transfer market? Are we going to make ambitious transfers, or are we going to settle for, the next 17-year-old Slavic wonderkin from, the Norway league? What are we doing? And for as much shit as I have given Frank for his lack of, anything really, is the lack of performance, the lack of tactics, the lack of just anything to make me feel good, I am equally disappointed with the board and, the recruitment. It's just a giant clusterfuck. And it is, the last thing I'll say about that is it's kind of funny to go on Reddit and see these posts that pop up every once in a while, like, the Daniel Levy apology form. I think that one's my favorite, where people are like, oh, I didn't realize what you were actually doing. Maybe you weren't the bad guy in all this.
Maybe he wasn't.
There's a lot of unknown coming up, but what we do know is that we've got a very important, crucial run of fixtures, and we need to start picking up points tomorrow. Yep. Literally, we have Newcastle tomorrow. We need to
literally tomorrow.
And there's a whole bunch of question marks around that game too. I mean, Udogie's injured, out for 4 to 5 weeks now. Danzo's out for a few more weeks. So there's a lot of, what formation are we going to go in? What are the tactics going to look like? Hey, Mike, what you drinking? Really,
Steve. Question. You know what? I'm not going to let you get away with this. I didn't do this last week because I did 40-something minutes on my own, and it was grueling and it was awful. I mean, it was bad. The edit on it. If anybody watched the YouTube, it's bad. There was a lot of and and well and there was a lot of pausing, and like the edit on it was bad, but I had to get it out, and I feel bad about the product that I put out there. But you can't have a fucking banger of a week every single week like we generally do. That said, let's talk about this fun beer that I have here. I went so this is one of my favorite breweries out there because they make a beer that is probably it's a Czech style Pilsner that is probably one of the most perfect beers that's ever been made. And I'm talking about Schilling. And if you ever get a chance, they're in Littleton, New Hampshire. They make lagers, and that's it. They don't do IPAs and that kind of shit. But it's what a brewery, and if you can get your hands on some of their beers, you really have to try it. This one is called Volkswagen.
Ooh,
Eingarten.
nice.
This is a Vienna lager, 5.2%. I love Vienna lagers. I'm a big fan of Von Trapp's Vienna lager. It's one of my favorite beers. But again, like I said, Schilling makes nearly perfect beers. I saw this one. I've never had it, so I'm very excited to try it out. Now, if you're looking for a beer that like kind of sits perfectly between like easy drinking and like actually kind of like interesting, because those easy drinking beers are generally they can be kind of boring.
Yep.
Vienna lagers are kind of where you want to be. It's kind of like it's that kind of in between. It's a middle child kind of between like an amber lager and like your classic Pilsner. So this is going to be an amber beer, kind of a deep amber color. This you can't really see it on the screen, but gonna have like a crispy off-white biscuity head. We've talked about that in the past. You get a nice bready aroma, sweet, toasted caramel malts. Like I'm very excited about this, but you get kind of some of that floral hoppiness that you get with like a Kolsch style ale. And again, this is not an ale, this is a lager. So just enough bitterness to hit you, but at the same time, you get that crisp, clean lager finish. It should be pretty fizzy. But it should be like a nice, clean, dry kind of finish on it. And I know we had the last time we got together, we had a very, very big rating. So we'll see what we get from this.
Yeah, I actually followed up and got the ginger amber ale from Kramer and Kin, and it is a very spicy drink. The ginger is very heavy, and I enjoy it.
Okay, so I do want to mention, I was getting Kramer and Kin mixed up with the one that's actually in Jericho. Kramer and Kin is up in what, North Hero?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Does it say on the can? Well, actually, this actually was brewed and canned at 14th Star in St. Albans.
I think that's where they do their brewing and canning. Is at 14th Star.
That's cool.
But there is a brewery in Jericho that we'll get to hopefully next week. This beer is really fucking good, dude. And I mean really good. At 5.2%, no, just 5%, straight up. It is so easy drinking. It's got almost like a copper ale kind of taste to it. And if you remember like Otter Creek Copper Ale, like that beer was like
I almost forgot
that
about
was like one of my favorite beers, man. Before they went under, but that brewery went under. That was like a flagship of theirs for a long, long time. And what a great beer.
Yeah, I remember that.
This beer goes like this beer is a food friendly beer. Goes hot dogs, sausages, pizza, any kind of grilled meats.
Pierogi?
Pierogi, yeah, sure.
Hell yeah.
Glumke probably too, even if you want to go there. But like this is like a perfect style and a perfect version of this style. Again, like Schilling, here's to you. This beer is near perfect.
Ooh, okay.
Holy shit! I want to go. We gotta make a road trip to this place.
Let's do it.
And then probably find a hotel with Uber because we will get hammered there.
I think I'm ready. I feel, I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a tough one. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
4.4.
I did it. Yes.
It's a banner day in the Jablonski household.
Yeah, suck it.
He finally got it. He finally got it.
All the Spurs nonsense. There was a payoff. Everything happens for a reason. My misery.
Everything happens for a reason. Congratulations, Steve.
Guessing a number. Oh man, I can die happy now.
It makes you absolutely makes you feel good though, right?
I'm locked in. Yeah, I got it right. Mickey Winks will never sing that.
That's
I'm
right.
Tell him that at some point, very, very soon.
And yeah, and I do have to call out before we move on and start talking about what's coming up tomorrow. I do have to call him out for not reading his email. Not actually, both of you guys kind of like not really reading properly because that email.
I read the first chunk of the email and got pissed off, and then I scrolled down and read the rest, and then I got pissed off for a different reason.
It was literally a bullet point, though.
But put it at the top, or even better, segment your audience so that you're sending emails that are deliberately intended for a specific group of people.
Their website crashed, just so you know.
Did it really?
With all the lottery requests. And I'll come right out and say that the Hearts of Pine fans, for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about the Vermont Green U.S. Open Cup matchup against our brand new we can't say heated rivals anymore, apparently. Hated rivals. So, yeah, because of the TV show.
Sexy,
right?
little too
too sexy. Yeah.
It's gonna be a fucking cold one, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see. My son starts training outdoors at Virtue Field on the 1st of March. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, we have a tournament coming up that 3 days beforehand, down in Massachusetts, an outdoor tournament. So we'll see what happens. But the Portland Hearts of Pine fans think that they have it all figured out on how to beat the system and get tickets in the lottery, which is to use Burlington, Vermont zip codes in their ticket requests and their lottery requests. What they don't know is that the zip code that they use in their lottery request is tied to their email, but it's also going to be tied to their purchase. So the zip code that they use in their purchase has to match their lottery request zip code, or they won't be able to purchase tickets. They do have tickets set aside. There are a number of tickets set aside for the visiting supporters of Hearts of Pine. But when they do not get tickets and they still show up, they're going to be directly ushered to the hill and to the back corner of the hill.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and this game is actually the featured game for the U.S. Open Cup uh, first round on Paramount Plus. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
streaming.
this will be broadcast worldwide.
Wow, this is a good game. This should be a fun one for when we're all feeling depressed based on Spurs' performance. I'm feeling very pessimistic all of a sudden.
Well,
No, just
yeah.
kidding. I've been pessimistic for months.
Let's get into talking about Newcastle. And one of my good friends, Natalie, is she's the international liaison for the she sits on the board of Newcastle United's supporters trust. Supporters trust. I don't know what I mean. She is their international liaison for supporters groups. So, and I don't know how she really got into it, like, or how she became a fan. It's really stupid, but she's a lovely woman. I wish her all the best. But and she has a thing for Sandro Tonali, so good for her.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
does she feel good about the game tomorrow?
I haven't talked to her, and I will not talk to her until a week later.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I totally
because
understand.
oh my god, because she is no, I can't even. No, she's worse than some Arsenal fans. When it comes to the games, let's talk about Eddie Howe, because he's in a similar position, right, to where Frank is. Like, the pressure is mounting on Newcastle. The difference is that Eddie Howe's team's set up so that they're playing. They're very forward thinking. They're dynamic. They prioritize attacking. They prioritize the midfield creativity with Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, who is one of the dirtiest players in the league, along with Joe Linton. But I mean, they're typically super high press. They're quick transitions, and those are things that we don't deal with. We've already lost to them this year, twice, right?
Who's counting?
Yeah, right. Bruno Guimaraes has been very, very hot as of late. They like to widen out their attackers. They like to close down space and force a lot of turnovers. Like, these are things that we're all going to have fucking trouble with. The good thing is that there are some injuries. Speaking of hot players right now, Tony Gordon, who is probably one of my favorite non-Spurs players. I just like the way he plays, and he kind of plays with an edge. And his finishing ability is fucking phenomenal. He's kind of got a hamstring concern, so hopefully we don't have to deal with him. I'm sure he'll show up. Lewis Miley has been injured, and I think he's probably going to end up showing up, but like, he's like a match day consideration. Same with Livramento, and Joe Linton is out. Fabian Schär is out. So other than that, like, it's all the usual suspects. So instead of like getting into like a deep dive on tactics and that kind of shit, like, well, we don't really do tactics or anything like that, but a deep dive in what's going on, I want to hit on like some of the parallels in how both managers are feeling right now, because both managers have some mounting pressure, right? And I think Thomas Frank, because of the obvious, right? The product on the field is just not there. But Eddie Howe's criticism is coming because Newcastle has spent money, and they had their chance in the Champions League. They're still fighting in the European front, but things are not happening for them domestically, right? So Thomas Frank has mounting injury problems. He's got suspension problems. Eddie Howe's got the same type of injury problems. Probably not as bad as it was earlier in the season for them, but it's still results aren't showing for either of them. Eddie Howe's had a number of years to kind of fix what Newcastle, where they want him to be, and it's just not happening for them. Whereas, Thomas Frank has that, new guy not fitting in type of a situation. So, like, when you look at both these managers, Steve, like, what are the common threads that you see, and how do we get over the fact that our fan base is such a demanding fan base, and how do we get over this match, and get out of this match with any kind of success? Because no, I'm serious. Like, there is a chance of success because of the struggles of Eddie Howe in his team. I think his team is still bought in, whereas our team might not be as bought in. Their team is still injured as well as ours. Like, there are a lot of parallels with these two coaches. So, like, how do we get over that hump and get past them?
A sheer act of God. Again, yes, he's got injuries. We have like twice as many injuries.
Sure.
Yes, he's in a bad position. Ours is worse. If I'm Eddie Howe and I'm looking at this fixture, I'm thinking, this is where I can stop the bleed. This is where I can go and get a result and get people, off my back for a little bit more. And I think going into this, Thomas Frank is going to be the one under significantly more pressure, because of the two teams, he's the one that desperately needs 3 points. If Eddie Howe comes away with a draw, they're probably not thrilled, but it's also not the end of the world. If we come away with a draw, it still sucks, because it doesn't put enough daylight between us and the bottom. So if you think about it, like, mathematically, right, we have a 1 out of 3 possible results that would be favorable, whereas Eddie can get away with 2 out of 3, right? It's hard. I do think that he has earned enough to keep the good graces, at least until the summer. I don't think his job's in jeopardy at all. If he does end up leaving, I think it's going to be after a summer conversation with their board, and maybe they are ready to take a different step or go in a new direction. Frank, I think you said it best, right? He's just new guy not fitting in. And I don't know that is going to be of any help to him. I think he's the one who is going to be in the hotter water. He's the one who is going to be desperate for that result. I think Eddie Howe is looking at this, salivating, because this is, on paper, for him, a decent chance at a good result. And like you said, they've beaten us already this season, so it's not even out of the realm of possibility. We've got a back four going into this match, presumably, of Gray, Dragusin, Van de Ven, and Souza. This just doesn't.
Maybe Spence.
Maybe Spence. Fair, but if I'm Frank, my concern is damage control, making sure that we do not concede in that first half. We need to make it to halftime intact and having played relatively well, right? We have to have something going into halftime that we can use to springboard forward. But God forbid, if somebody else goes down injured, we're fucked. It's a question of confidence, right? And I feel like managers aside for a moment, thinking just about the players, I think that Newcastle's players are probably in a better position to cope with something unexpected happening, whether it's conceding early, whether it's somebody going down injured. I think if that happens to Spurs, the confidence gets shattered, and all of a sudden we've got a mountain to climb. I just think the deck is stacked against Spurs going into this match, and it's not all doom and gloom. Not all doom and gloom. I do think that we have the ability to get a result. I just think it's going to be a very difficult one, and we have to be inch perfect to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think defensively we're going to be fine, right? I think that I don't mind seeing Paulinho playing in a center back position as much as I do Radu Dragusin. I just don't think he's turned into the type of player that I thought he would in this system. It's just he hasn't shown that he is built for the Premier League. He makes me fucking absolutely nervous. All what makes me nervous line a 19-year-old who's played no football in the Premier League outside of what he played the other day. And I don't know. Do we go in with a back three and use Souza because presumably he's very good with the ball at his feet. He's a dribbler. He's productive. He's productive in a transition game. Do we go in with a back three and use wing backs? In which case, like, how do you manage that? Because Dragusin is not a guy who's gonna push forward as in a back three, and he doesn't have the passing ability that Romero does. And I feel like I'd rather have João Palhinha back there and put Conor Gallagher and Pap Sarr and Xavi back there, right? In the midfield, and then you have Solanke and Kolomwani and Odegaard to play up front. It's really going to be an interesting look when we are given the starting lineups. And honestly, I can't make a call here. I think we get beat 2-1. And that's tough, going into like a North London derby too. Which we can talk about later on, but at another time. But we have some run of games that's not favorable for us. We have that North London derby. We have Crystal Palace. We have Fulham. They're all tough games. Like, those teams are playing tough, and those are the mid-table games that you have to win. Those mid-lower table games, but those teams are all fucking tough. They're not going to back down because Tottenham is supposed to be this big, this big club. They don't give a fuck because they don't have anything to lose, and they know that they're going to end up mid-table and they're not getting relegated. Tottenham right now is this is really an inflection point. And I know I said last week that like it's going to take a lot for Spurs to be relegated. I don't really know now, and that's in the span of like a few days here, right? I don't really know now. Like, I thought we were pretty safe, but now that we're sitting there at that 0 goal differential, it's really nerve-wracking. And
yep. And
I would love to go with the numbers and look at the numbers and say, well, we have this and we have that. And, I know I texted it to you that day too. It's like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Maybe that was a lot of posturing on my part, but I in the end, like, you have to go with like how you feel in the moment. And I don't fucking feel comfortable right now. I really don't, Steve.
I don't either. But you know what? We got a game coming up in less than 24 hours. Maybe that will change our minds.
Dude, I'll tell you what, if we get relegated, we're going to fucking crush the championship. With our teenagers.
I would personally like the squad to play as if their back was against the wall for the rest of the season, because frankly it is.
Yeah, they fucking, but you look at that dude and they fucking folded last year.
Yeah.
They absolutely folded last year.
Well, we'll see how it goes, Mike. We are at time now, so why don't we move on to some closing thoughts and hope that we can get a result.
Yeah. My closing thoughts are these. It's fucking cold, man.
It is fucking cold.
And I'm in this basement and I have no heat in my basement. And it's fucking cold in my basement. I don't know how my kid sits down here and plays video games all day on the weekends. When he's not in training. If he's not in training or on this treadmill working out, he's down here playing video games, and my God, it's fucking cold down here right now. I'm waiting for the weather to turn here in Vermont. We have March coming up. We have our very own Vermont Green Football Club announcing a lottery for tickets for the U.S. Open Cup, which, believe it or not, is one of the oldest soccer tournaments in the world. And you know, my son is getting outside soon for some outdoor training. Like, March is around the corner. I know it's only the 9th of February, but we have some nicer days looking up. I don't really feel like that midwinter depression that I usually get in right now. And I don't know why, but I really am just sick of the cold. But you know what I really, really, really want is just for some fucking joy from my North London team. I can get joy out of my watching my kid play basketball and shoot some 3-pointers. By the way, they won today 40-4.
Damn.
The other team had no points until 2 minutes left in the game.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But you know, I just want some joy. I get joy out of watching my kid play sports. And I just want joy out of my sports, my professional teams. And now that football is over, and Tottenham Hotspur's season is generally over, I can say it's baseball season, and maybe we'll bring Dave back for a little baseball episode, and maybe bring our friend Adam back. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you know, future has endless possibilities.
Endless, Stephen.
Endless. Absolutely. My closing thought is going to be very short, very simple. Because I got a new shirt, I think the message speaks for itself. And for those of you who can't see it, it says "Abolish ICE." Big fan. I am mostly excited because I'm going to visit my sister down in Tennessee at the end of the month, and I will not be taking this off. I will be going everywhere with it, and I am looking forward to seeing the kind of reactions I get from people, because I just don't give a fuck.
Tennessee's it's going to be hoodie weather there too, so you need something to keep you warm.
Absolutely. But it's funny. I had somebody telling me the other day how they don't understand what it can be like to just not care what somebody might say to you. And I am going to tell you guys the same thing that I told them. If somebody wants to come up to me and make some bigoted, hateful remark, why should I give a fuck what their opinion is? It is meaningless to me. They can't hurt my feelings. Like, call me whatever you want, throw your temper tantrum, you know, calling yourself out as, you know, some kind of xenophobic, racist douchebag. That's all I needed to hear. I'm done. You know, your opinion, just don't care. See ya, moving on. And let me tell you, you live life so much better when you just don't give any credence to what hateful people try to put on you.
There you go.
Just be kind, man. You know, it's like Bad Bunny said, love is more powerful than hate.
And Steve, I'm going to break something to you right now.
Ooh.
Anybody who wants to, and I'm going to put this in in some of our notes here, our show notes. But when we post it on Blue Sky, the Green Mountain Boys supporters group for the Vermont Green FC will be putting out T-shirts. And the T-shirts will say "Football Against Fascism" on it.
Yes.
With the Iron Front logo. So if you're into that kind of thing, I can put that in the show notes. Just the leak. And later on we can put our. I'll put a link in there, and I believe the proceeds are going to end up going to help Migrant Justice Vermont. Which is a group that we raised $25,000 for last year in the span of less than 10 days during the USL2 playoffs. So I'll put that in our show notes, and I'll show you a little bit of the leak of what the T-shirt design looks like.
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm excited.
And I'm also going to be releasing a very special edition Vermont Green Julien Labordelou T-shirt as well, which is a silhouette of him standing on the chair after his goal in the semifinal. So
nice.
Yep. So with that, I do want to say thank you to everyone who tunes in, everyone who downloads. We're back on Blue Sky. I have a little bit more bandwidth now. I'm not sick, and I think that we're going to be moving into the spring, and it's going to be fun. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. We are the Wicked Spursy Podcast. You can find us on Blue Sky and Instagram. We'll be posting some fun reels and that kind of stuff soon. And again, like I said, I'm going to put our stuff in the show notes for the Green Mountain Boys, so we can raise some money for migrant justice. But with that, Steve, I know you have some words of wisdom for us, and you have some final words.
Oh, hell yeah. Coys.
And
don't be an asshole.
Just
Mike, what have you got for us?
Guys, it's winter. You know, like I said, it's fucking cold outside. Just do me a favor. Go out there, and this time of year, it's very, very important to protect your mental health. And when you're walking around, talk to your neighbor. Talk to anybody. Just go out there and be safe.
And
up the fucking Spurs.